Hello everyone, and welcome to our session where we'll talk about how you can lift and transform vSphere workloads without disruption, featuring Broadcom. My name is Sayantani Goswami. I'm a customer engineer with Google Cloud, and with me I have Manoj Sharma, who is a director of product management with Google Cloud, and Ganesh Janakiraman, who is head of platform engineering with Broadcom. Today we'll cover why you should choose GCVE, what's new with GCVE, Broadcom's journey with us, power of partnership, call to action, and then conclude with some Q&A. So let's talk about why should you choose GCVE in the first place. There are several things that are top of mind for IT leaders. On one hand are the ever-present requirements of optimizing cost, enhancing security, and delivering the availability that applications and businesses need. On the other hand, every company is trying to harness the power of artificial intelligence and cloud transformation. Let's dive into this further. When we put this in the context of enterprises, vSphere powers the majority of compute workloads in on-prem environments, and there are 85 million vSphere-based workloads. The challenge this creates is businesses need to choose between lift and shift and refactor and transform every day. On one hand are the business requirements of enabling growth and transformation, leveraging the best of data, analytics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and security, whereas on the other hand, IT operators are trying to optimize cost, minimize risk and downtime, and maximize the use of existing investments that they have already made. The dilemma this creates is how do these organizations rapidly transform while minimizing risk, change management, and expenses? Do they lift and shift today and deal with the transformation in the future, or do they refactor and transform now? Balancing the two often requires certain trade-offs, forcing IT leaders to either choose lift and shift, which is low risk and effort, but requires a long time to enable transformation, or refactor and transform, which enables fast innovation, but requires significant upfront investments. This is where Google Cloud VMware Engine comes into play for these enterprises. We are taking a unique approach when it comes to providing a cloud-first experience for vSphere-based workloads in Google Cloud using our first-party offering, Google Cloud VMware Engine, or GCVE. GCVE accelerates transformation while balancing risk and agility, enabling us to meet our customers where they are. It delivers a dedicated VMware private cloud infrastructure in Google Cloud with vSphere ESXi for compute, vSAN for shared storage, and NSX for software-defined networking. Since we are running on vSphere, you can easily migrate your workloads to GCVE without any change or disruption. You can continue to use the migration tools that you're most familiar with, such as HCX. And once you migrate over to GCVE, you can integrate easily with other services to further accelerate your transformation. Let's look at some of the features of GCVE. GCVE is a first-party offering similar to Compute Engine or any other service in Google Cloud. It is sold and delivered by Google Cloud. It is also supported by us. With GCVE, you can quickly provision a VMware private cloud dedicated to you using self-service within an hour and instantly take advantage of auto-scaling. You can get capacity on demand or through term subscriptions using an OpEx fashion. Since the service is delivered by us, we take care of platform deployment, patching, monitoring, security, and automatic remediation. This frees you from the effort of managing your own infrastructure so that you can focus on the workloads that's critical to you. It also provides integrated billing, unified identities, and access controls that enables easier consumption of VMware-based workloads. Once you migrate your workloads to GCVE, you can also quickly integrate with services like BigQuery and cloud operations using private connectivity. Furthermore, you can extend your ecosystem of enterprise applications and services as you migrate over to cloud without any changes. We have partnered with leading ISVs to offer solutions such as backup, disaster recovery, and remote desktop. These partner solutions include Rubrik, Cohesity, and VM. Therefore, you can continue to use the enterprise applications and IT tooling that you need to run your business in the cloud without making any changes or disruption. We have also partnered with NetApp to offer storage solutions for VMware customers in the cloud. GCVE is an enterprise-grade platform. Let's look at some of the differentiators that we provide. We provide 99.99% of uptime SLA for clusters with 5 to 32 nodes and FTT of 2 or greater without requiring stretched clusters. This is higher than any other alternative out there. We also offer dedicated connectivity with core service functions, such as vSAN and vMotion, that enables us to provide a platform that's highly stable and available. This also allows us to support enterprise applications that are highly available. Second, deep networking integration with native networking functions such as VPC. GCVE's networking is built on top of Google's powerful networking architecture. With simplified regional and global networking modes, you can create a VPC subnet in any region where this service is available. This also allows you to architect global networks without the need or overhead of creating and connecting regional network designs. This is not the case with other cloud providers, where you have to configure special networking to connect different regions. For example, creating VPNs over a wide area network to enable global communication. The challenge this creates is it adds to your complexity of both operations and deployment in addition to cost. Third, we offer the largest cluster sizes with up to 32 nodes and clusters with our dedicated placement group design. And last but not the least, we offer dedicated 100 Gbps of east-west networking without bandwidth oversubscription. That's not the case with other alternatives that often require bandwidth oversubscription. Our GCVE nodes also come with redundant switching. Both of these features are especially important for enterprise workloads, such as databases that are mission critical, and also latency-sensitive applications, such as real-time communication. Google Cloud VMware Engine is available in 18 regions, including some new additions in Milan, Turin, Delhi, and Santiago. We offer the same 4 nines of uptime SLA for all of these regions where GCVE is available in. In some additional regions, such as London, Frankfurt, Sydney, and Virginia, we are offering additional zones to support customers that require higher levels of availability. And with this, I would like to invite Manoj Sharma to talk about what's new with Google Cloud VMware Engine.
Thank you, Sayantani. Hi, I'm Manoj. I lead the VMware Engine product. And I'm here to talk about what's new with VMware Engine and some exciting developments as well that are in the works with this product. So our customers have been talking about what really matters to them. They are really focused on reducing cost of the infrastructure, making sure it's a good fit with the right TCO. But at the same time, they want to have the right scale and advanced capabilities with automation without compromising on the simplicity that they've come to know and love in the product. And at the same time, they don't want to compromise on what we all care about, which is security, right? I mean, you want to make sure you get all the visibility, all the tooling that you need in order to get the most secure deployments. And then finally, it's not just about solving problem A by deploying infrastructure, solving problem B by adding some tools in it, and so on and so forth. Customers want to solve all enterprise needs holistically, whether it comes to availability, whether it comes to data protection, business continuity. Everything should be built in and not have to sort of tool your way into getting to the right end state in production and when you're live. And so we are trying to meet those needs as well. And then finally, customers come to Google Cloud to get the best of cloud and to avail of all the advances that are possible in the cloud. And what we're all witnessing is the advances in AI and generative AI. And so we'll get a sneak peek on what we are doing in that space in order to help VMware customers. So let's talk about the first exciting announcement and development that we have in VMware Engine, which is the VE2 platform. So a current node type was called VE1, VMware Engine 1, and it had a certain configuration. But with HCI, as some of you might be aware, hyper-converged infrastructure, which includes storage and compute, the problem is it's like a one-size-fits-all approach, which means the dress is either going to be loose-fitting or it's going to be tight-fitting most of the time. And that doesn't work when it comes to cost, right? So what you want to do is to have a platform that gives you the flexibility of choosing the right level of compute and CPU, compute and storage that you want to allocate to your workload so that you can get the best TCO. And we obviously offer it at different price points. And so what this helps is if you have a database that needs a lot of storage, then you can choose the largest storage form factor of VE2. And if you have VDI, which needs a lot of compute, or you might have a memory-intensive workload, then you can choose one with less storage. And once again, as I said, that gives you a better fit. It comes with the later generation Intel CPU as well, which in our benchmarking had 50% lower inter-thread communication latency. What that means is your database transactions runs faster, and your VDI interactions, mouse clicks are that much more snappier, right? So I think we are giving you latest generation infrastructure, but also giving you flexibility of configuration to choose at the right optimal TCO. And we are releasing the VE2 standard 128, which is one version of the CPU and storage configuration first. And it really gives you a lot more capacity than we had before, including more than 2.5 times of the memory that you got with our current node type. Now, a similar version of that problem is storage. So let's take the example of DR, where let's say you're trying to replicate a lot of data. You have an active DR from on-prem to the cloud, and you're replicating a lot of data into the cloud. What you need to do then is to have a lot of storage in your environment and maybe limited amount of CPU. And you want to keep adding storage by adding some sort of tier 2 sort of storage context. But how do you do that in HCI without having to mount additional external storage, which is also possible? Well, if you want to keep the HCI form factor, the hyper-converged form factor, which is to have storage in the same cluster, the high-performance storage that comes with NVMe, but not have to pay for compute. And so you can leverage really high-performance primary storage, then it's possible with the storage-only node type. And the good thing is that we will be offering this with VE2 as well, and it can save you at least 75. It'll save you at least 25%, if not more, depending on the type of node type you choose in order to meet your storage needs. So next up is networking. And the analogy I like to make here is building a house. So what you have to do when you configure VMware in the cloud is that you build the house, but then you have to worry about bringing the plumbing into the house as well, right? And you have to actually lay out the plumbing yourself, connect to the cloud VPCs, and then do the interconversion. Sometimes you have to set up routers. Sometimes you have to configure peering with multiple cloud VPCs. And all of that's super complicated and adds to operational overhead and cost and time to manage and so forth. And this was already much simpler in GCVE. You didn't have to do all this sort of routing, configuration, and management yourself, but you did have to initialize the peering. Now what we are doing is we are saying, you know what, when you make the house, the plumbing comes with it as part of the consumption. So when you first create a private cloud in GCVE now, you will get this peering that goes into the cloud VPC automatically detected and automatically configured on your project. And we call this zero config networking. And so zero config networking is the new development on the networking space that will now be possible with our next generation networking called VMware Engine networking. And it's also a very flexible pattern and paradigm for us because it allows you to configure multiple VPCs in the same private cloud or a many-to-many connection from VPCs to your private clouds, or to connect with external services, partner services such as IBM, NetApp, or others, or even connect to projects that are not in the same organization as yours, external projects, so you can have some sort of a partner-based service connected to your VMware environment. So this kind of flexibility in networking, when you start doing advanced things, you need this flexibility, but in a very simple way, so that you're not spending all your time trying to manage, this mess of wires, of virtual wires, but mess of wires of connectivity, and we make it possible and easy with VMware Engine networking. So now I'm going to talk about 3 things that address the security aspect that I talked about, right? The security is paramount in the cloud. And the first of these is what we call VPC Service Control solutions, which essentially, in VPC Service Control, what the policy you can set is that I don't want any exfiltration, meaning no outgoing internet connection from my environment, so that the environment's secure. I know that there's no external service being offered, accessed. And that's now possible, that is possible with VPC service controls in the cloud, but with the solution, it's also now possible on VMware Engine environments as well. So this is the first security measure that we are releasing. The second is visibility and audit. You want to know everything that's happening in the environment. You want to know who's doing it, when it's happening, where it happened, what it changed. And it was possible with VMware vCenter syslogs. It was also possible with NSXT syslogs, and then the control plane logs. But for the first time, we are now offering ESX log as well, right? So ESX is the host operating system logs, and we manage the host and the operating system, the ESX operating system, but we are giving you visibility into that as well, so that you know exactly what's going on in your environment, and you have total visibility for giving you the peace of mind that you need in the cloud. And then the third thing in security is access control. Now, what was possible so far was an administrative level of control and then a viewer level of control in GCVE. But now what we have done, and this is already released, is the ability to do fine-grained access control. If somebody's managing networking, they get exactly that configuration. If somebody's managing storage, they get the storage management rights. And so on and so forth, user management, administration, logging, et cetera, right? So you can imagine all sorts of roles that you have in your organization. You can bring those roles through fine-grained permissions applied to every single function available in the platform. And we'll be continuing to enhance this with more and more granularity as time passes. Okay, so that covers security. Now, coming back to enterprise needs, I mentioned, hey, when I want to set up something in production, I want all my needs to be addressed holistically, whether it's about external storage, it might be file stores that I'm accessing from VDI environment, or I might have tier 2 storage, or I might have DR protection. I want all of these needs to be addressed. So the first thing in that space is the external storage with Filestore and NetApp. Both are, equally supported options that we are offering in our platform, and that allows you to address the needs of storage expansion and storage growth and data protection that I talked about. But the second area that we are focused on is to make it very easy and push button for you to get data protection and business continuity for your workloads. So we offer the VMware platform. The VMware platform has an ecosystem, a very large ecosystem of data protection and business continuity, as you all know, whether it's Veeam or whether it's Zerto or whether it's some EMC solution and so on and so forth. You can sort of bring all of those as add-on capabilities and layer it into the platform, and they're fully supported. But you also, in some cases, want to use the provider native capabilities, and you want it to be built in. You don't want to configure, the tool yourself. And what we are announcing and offering is the ability to get this data protection through GCP native data protection and backup tool, which will be now can be bundled as part of GCVE through this GCVE protected add-on SKU. And what this does is it gives you data protection at a fixed cost. So you pay 5% of the infrastructure cost, and you can use unlimited capabilities, back up as many VMs as you want, and the software is going to be basically working seamlessly without you having to configure and manage things explicitly. You just have to pay for the storage depending on the amount of data protection you're having. The external storage that this service uses, it uses GCS to back up your data. So that's what you will be paying additionally for. All right, and so now I'm just gonna transition, but before that, I wanna talk about something exciting. So who in the audience here has been using the VMware platform for more than 10 years? So about, 25, 30%, I think, if not more. And when you come to Google Cloud, you've given us the very important responsibility to manage your environment and make it available to you as a service. But, with this revolution of generative AI happening around us, it's Google's responsibility to give you all the power and capability of generative AI to make your life simpler and better. You should be able to have deep knowledge and insights about your environment. You should be able to have an understanding of exactly all the different parameters and options available to you. You should be able to generate scripting and automation seamlessly and easily. And I'm happy to mention today that we are working on this. We are not announcing availability yet, but we're working on this, and it'll be in preview soon, where you can do all of this. And it's a very special capability and very special, especially for VMware, because it's giving you something that's not built into a Duet experience yet, which is the ability to get insights with your inventory. And this is an extension of the Duet capabilities that you heard today, that were announced today, but an application of that into the VMware space. So I'll stop talking. It's better to see the demo and get a sense yourself of how this works. Okay, so what you see first is deep insights on your inventory. And the way we offer this is privacy preserving, which is that all your inventory information stays local to your environment. It does not go to the large language model service that we leverage behind the scenes. We are actually leveraging Vertex AI, and you do need to have access and registration to Vertex AI in order to use this, but it still preserves privacy by keeping your data local. The second thing you see is deep insights. It gives you, information about all aspects of the stack that you're consuming, and it's very knowledgeable about that. And the third thing you'll see is automation. You can generate scripts about your environment, and whether it's PowerCLI, Terraform, or Python-based scripting, it's very knowledgeable about that, and it can save you a lot of time when it comes to performing advanced administrative tasks. So with that, I'm going to pass the baton to Ganesh, and he'll take you through the next part.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ganesh Janakiraman. I head platform engineering at Broadcom. A small fact, well over 99% of internet traffic traverses through something, somewhere, Broadcom. We are immensely proud about that. We are technology leaders in the semiconductor and silicon space. We are also leaders in infrastructure software. Right? We thrive in innovation, and we have a panoply of well-differentiated products in several verticals, and including cutting-edge technologies like generative AI, both on the silicon and the software side. At the end of the day, it's all about sound financial model, the robust business that drives diversified and sustainable revenue, which is really important to us. So what does our software portfolio look like? Right? So from mainframe to mobile, we power, enable, maintain, automate, monitor, and secure some of the world's largest, most complex, and mission-critical systems for our customers. We have products both on the on-prem and on the SaaS space, primarily got through acquisitions. On the portfolio side, mainframe is a very important part of our portfolio. The who's who of the world still actively use mainframe. We have leadership in several other areas on the distributed side, like value ops with products like Rally and Clarity, in the monitoring space with NetOps, AppNeta, and AI Ops, right? But we have a wide portfolio of security products covering almost all dimensions of security, from identity management to network perimeter security, all the way to securing your last device. We cover the entire spectrum in terms of solution. Right? We acquired Symantec a few years back. With that, we have products like Symantec Endpoint Security that protects millions of devices. We have a marquee network security product in the web security space, erstwhile Blue Coat. We have CASB, DLP, Secure Access. So we have the complete portfolio of solution for SASE and ZTNA. We also have a payment security solution. If you're familiar with Verified by Visa, we co-developed that, and we continue to be a leader in that space as well. Now, coming to our journey with Google Cloud, we have had a very symbiotic relationship with Google. We were probably the first billion-dollar company that adopted G Suite. We still continue to use that. And our foray into software kind of started with the acquisition of Brocade. And that's when the first set of workloads we started moving to GCP. But things started moving along, the more traction with the acquisition of CA Technologies that was closely followed by Symantec, wherein we decided that we'll move all the SaaS products into Google Cloud. Right? And this was not a simple lift and shift exercise. We used the opportunity to transform them to be able to do, say, like a 12-factor app, microservice them, containerize the applications, and run them in Kubernetes. Right? So we went through this transformation for all of these SaaS services, and we had shut down several data centers in this process. And this SaaS journey was a great transformative one. I'll be talking about our lab migration in a little bit, and the assured workloads in a subsequent session later this afternoon, actually. Now, as I said, we run all of our SaaS solutions, almost all of our SaaS solutions inside Google. So we have a fairly large footprint. We run in 39 regions today. several tens of thousands of VMs. We are a very big GKE shop. The stats go so on and on, right? Because of our global presence, the diverse set of customers, we are always secure. We go through all the compliance regimes like PCI DSS, SOC 2, FedRAMP. It's really important for us because we hold a lot of customer data. I want to focus a little more on this develop cloud-conscious culture. So the one that I talked about, this mega transformation effort that we took to migrate or retransform all the SaaS services. To go through such an exercise, there's one critical thing that we had to do, that is to empower the engineer, right? So the engineer needs to have the right set of training resources, the right set of tooling, and the visibility into the environments which they operate. And that helps them give the ownership and the accountability in terms of making them accountable to optimize the environment and make it more efficient, right? So this is a really important part for, again, the large transformation effort like what we undertook. It's really critical that the engineer is at the center of this, right? Now, we're done with this large transformation effort, and even before we started sipping the champagne, we realized that we had a problem, right? And more importantly, we had a bigger opportunity. While I think folks that build products will relate to this one, if you have products both in the SaaS and on-prem space, SaaS is typically the tip of the spear, and on-prem solutions kind of trail behind, right? So we followed kind of a very similar approach where we moved all our SaaS into the cloud, whereas we were still developing and testing our on-prem solutions, our on-prem products in the traditional way, running these labs in the data centers, right? So we had like almost 165 plus unique development and test labs. And these were running in various data centers all over the world, multiple office sites. The utilization was pretty low, high TCO. The model was a CapEx model where any kind of expansion took a lot of time. It was not easy for us to get anything new, right? And also from a technology perspective, from an infrastructure perspective, we had all kinds of, all hues and shades of infrastructure, starting from your small pizza boxes to all the way to the best hyperconvergent infrastructure that's available. Now, that was the problem statement. And you have heard this insurance commercial. I think it has a very catchy jingle as well. But the tagline goes like this: you only pay for what you need. I think that pretty much captured like where we wanted to be, right? From this state where we were in, we wanted to get into a state where we could do on-demand provisioning when we need, what we need, to be able to start, stop, scale, and to be able to pay only for that. If we wanted to improve our utilization, right? And also have a platform that is kind of uniform and consistent, where we don't have all of these vagaries of infrastructure, right? That's when we took a call, a simple one, saying that we are moving all of these labs, lock, stock, and barrel, into Google Cloud. Like any of the large transformation efforts, it met with a lot of resistance at start. People are even questioning, like, well, what are you smoking, right? So it's legal now in the state. So it took us some time to get past those barriers. I think some of them, we're talking about environments where there are hundreds of products, again, over 2,000 engineers, right, that are actively working on these labs. Across all geographies, time zones. So it was a gargantuan effort, actually. So the good part about it was we were able to explain the end state. The end state was the engineer had a lot more control on the environments than what they had now, right? The first biggest point. And there are no more hidden costs. There are no more costs that you don't know. Okay, you exactly know that your meter is running, and you know what you're paying for. And the other important thing was around the training aspect, where we were able to, with the help of Google, we were able to get training for all of these engineers across the board. So once they became more familiar with the latest and greatest that the cloud offered, so it gave them the confidence that they will be able to leverage this, right? And that kind of snowballed into an acceptance, and that's how the project started moving forward, actually. So once, and our goal was to migrate whatever machines we had into GCE, and we were using Migrate for Computer Engine at that point in time. I think we also worked with Google on a third-party solution because we had hypervisors like AHV, ESX, and our private cloud was running in OpenStack. So we had to find a converter that was able to convert all of these. So we found a tool. Things were moving quick. Things were moving well. That's what we thought, till we hit a brick wall, right? So there was a problem where several of our products were actually built in the ESX vSphere ecosystem, like the entire automation, the entire thing was built around that. We also had products that had to be tested in this environment, in the ESX vSphere environment. But more importantly, we were running various flavors of operating systems because just to mimic our customers. So these operating systems could not be run in GCE, whereas we had an easy option of getting all of these things to run in GCVE. That's how we evaluated GCVE, and we adopted GCVE at that stage for that exact use case. So once we started using it, we found the interface very consistent with what we're familiar with on the on-prem side. It's the exact same interface. And as Sayantani mentioned, it's a managed offering. You don't have to worry about the infrastructure. Google takes care of the patching. Google takes care of all the upgrades, things like that. And all the levers that we had on the on-prem side in terms of cost, we still continue to have them, right? So it worked out of the box straight away, okay? And I think as Manoj mentioned, we use HCX to migrate from our existing VMware environment into GCVE fairly easily. Now, today we have well over 100 nodes. I think we're touching about 110 now, well over 10,000 VMs which are running in GCVE, several clusters. We use this opportunity as a good one, like a spring cleaning exercise, to clean up the stuff that we didn't need. We migrated, I wouldn't use the word lift and shift, we lifted and transformed, and only what we needed, right? We right-sized the environments to make sure that, because now we're in an environment where you could provision what you want, okay? You can start small and then scale up as you need, right? So in this process, we consolidated thousands of machines, and we were able to shut down 5 data centers, right? We were able to significantly bring down our costs. I already talked about our overall approach in terms of being cloud and cost conscious. That's a culture that we built ground up. Any engineer you walk in Broadcom will tell you like what their average cost is, right? So that's the kind of culture that we build based on the visibility that one has, right? And thousands of engineers now had access to the cloud, okay? It's not just GCVE anymore. They had access to things beyond VMware, where they had access to things like BigQuery and the other services that the cloud offers, right? And because we moved from a CapEx to an OpEx model, it was much easy for us to spin up and spin down when we need. And the deployments are now taking minutes, right? Instead of months, weeks and months that it used to happen before. And last but not the least, we realize ops for our monitoring, alerting, and it helped us immensely in terms of optimizing our environment. Oops. So the outcomes, like I already talked about what we did for the developer. At the end of the day, it was all about liberating the developer, right? Now they're not worried about the nuances of, am I going to get my infrastructure? Am I going to get this on time, right? So that got taken away. And it freed the developer to things that they do best, to build world-class software, right? Because the constraints were removed, it helped us to accelerate the delivery. And we also created a community, right, where people were sharing best practices, people were sharing scripts, people were exchanging ideas, discussing problems. So the community helped us to get there much faster. And last but not the least, we had a great partner in Google that helped us thick and thin during this journey, without which this would not have been possible. And a shout out to my team, my extended Broadcom team that made this huge mammoth transformation possible. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Ganesh. I think, to get a partner of this scale, to get a customer of this scale, and to be able to see this kind of journey that changes so many lives is just tremendous. We're truly blessed, and I think, I really appreciate the cloud-conscious culture that you talked about and how you helped build that in your context. So it's truly phenomenal, and I think along the same lines, I want to say that this service and these capabilities, making the best of VMware and Google would not have been possible without the partnership with VMware. And I think for that, I want to get a message from VMware in this session as well for us to all hear before we close.
Hello, I'm Krish Prasad. I'm the General Manager of the Cloud Infrastructure Business Group in VMware. Very excited to be here. Google Cloud and VMware has had a very close and deep partnership for many years. It was just 3 years ago that we jointly launched Google Cloud VMware Engine. Since then, we have seen a huge momentum amongst our customers to adopt this cloud, and it is now, without question, one of the top performing clouds that VMware customers go to. Customers really love the ability to seamlessly move their applications from their data centers to GCVE, because they don't have to think about retraining their people, they don't have to change their processes and tools, and they also can take advantage of some of the native services that Google offers, as an example in the AI ML space, that allows our customers to then accelerate their digital transformation journey. And so all of this has resulted in a huge momentum for this service across many industries. And I'm very confident that Google Cloud VMware Engine will be one of the top destinations for our customers for years to come. Thank you very much.
All right, so with that, we'll close. I think we just have a minute left. We'll be available here for questions, outside for questions. I know we didn't get enough time to do that, but thank you all, and thank you for coming, and I hope you enjoyed the session.